Power hour, right? This is something that is like big time in my life when it comes to creating power and creating perception. So one of the cool things I think we'd start talking about today is the way we see things, right? Now this is something you deal with all the time. And the conversation of money, right? Attacking the 401ks, attacking the way that people see and experience money, experience themselves in money. It's fun because I'm watching video after video after video of you online, interviewing in news stations. I've noticed that there's a shrinking factor to the amount of time that the people ask you the questions about 401ks. Like in the beginning, it was like 15-minute interview, 14 minutes of
401k.
401ks are awesome. Come on, man. Just give it. They're awesome. And then finally, okay, well then what do we do? And now it's like 30 seconds and it's like submission hold. Like, okay. And then they spend the next 15 minutes talking about what?
Sole purpose, actually.
Sole purpose,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So sole purpose itself then is something I'm super passionate about. And consider we can talk about sole purpose, we can talk about spirituality, we can talk about ascension, we can talk about enlightenment. I was running this morning and those were the thoughts I had, that all these things kind of feel to me to be the same thing. And that is some kind of unseen power that's driving force and creating power through the physical tools of our lives, right? So the physical body is nothing more than a tool through which the spirit or the sole purpose or spirituality or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, pushing through the vehicle to produce results. So we're going to talk today in the beginning here about perception and how we see things. And this formula, or picture I'm going to drop, are going to assist us in being able to see how we see and how we interpret and how we experience life itself. Now, landmark education, you went landmark, right?
Yep, I went through landmark.
Remember landmark, there's a little phrase that first like day or two, I can't remember how many days in, but they say life is empty and
meaningless.
Right, so the first time I hear this phrase, life is empty and meaningless, I was like, nope. I'm gonna freaking kill someone. There, what? Life has meaning! And I was like ready to run up. You remember how they put like platform and the dude said
I was in Denver and people were going to kill the guy that said it.
They were angry.
I'm not even joking, man. It was serious. It was serious.
So like I didn't get that either, like life is empty and meaningless. But now I've come to understand that life is empty and meaningless, not just because of landmark, but I've come to understand through a whole bunch of experiences and transcending things in my life, the idea that nothing around me has any meaning except for that which I give it. But the question is how is it we give things meaning, right? So for example, in what I'm wearing or what Garrett's wearing, it just is. It is what it is, and we put labels on it. But I was fascinated by what we saw and how this related to our ability to produce a sole purpose. So I started studying it more and more and more, and I was studying it through quantum physics. I was studying it through all kinds of different spiritual books. So for the last 3 years, I've kind of been on this windy journey. When Garrett and I first became business partners, and then I went a different direction, and Garrett was here, and we were still hanging out, and I was having all these different studies about this idea of sole purpose, but through a lot of different words or labels or meanings around it. So here's what I came to and what I saw, and I think it'll be really useful to start our conversations this way. So let's consider for a second then our perception of what we see in life is looking at what is. And what is just in the space. So for example, I could bring like this. All right, here's a cool drum. So I got like this drum, right? Get focused, right? So this drum just is what it is. I'm gonna come put this drum right here. Now how I perceive this drum itself is going to be determined not based upon the tool or mechanism of my eye. The eye itself is nothing more than a lens. We could call it a tool. It has zero ability to perceive value in something or to not perceive value in something. It merely is the tool through which varying levels of vibration or perception of frequency is entered. So every single minute, Garrett and I are seeing all kinds of things. You're looking at this drum and you're thinking, nice drum, right? You're like, Garrett, bang your drum, I like it. Now the drum itself, based on what you see, not with your lens, but what's behind the lens, determines what kind of value you see in this and whether or not this thing has any type of meaning for you at all. Now, if you're a drum player, maybe you're like saying, well, that's kind of a different drum. I haven't ever seen a drum like that. And if you're thirsty, maybe you turn upside down and you want to drink. I don't know. But here's the thing. All of this, when we look at the drum, it just is what it is. It's a thing that has no meaning based upon what we're seeing. Now, behind this then is where all the meaning comes. So if we look behind the eye, we get to the mind. And there's a phrase in Buddhism and Hinduism, and that is getting to no mind or the concept of mindlessness? Now, we talk about this because in the Power Hour, there's a couple different aspects. We use the physical body, right? And in your experience, why do we use the body? You and I kind of like to start. Well, no, you switch this up sometimes, but why go the body?
Exercise. I say exercise, education, enlightenment.
Wow, we've gotten really fancy since
I found out these 3 E's on accident when I was speaking once, and so
Good.
Exercise because you've been asleep. And I like how you say it. It's kind of like the divine daily reset, right? Mm-hmm. So you've been in darkness for a while. Now you wake up, and a lot of times there's this game going on between your body and your mind where your body's saying, I'm super tired, mind. Let's just go ahead and close those eyes and relax and not work out. So there's power and kind of a victory when the mind wins over the weaker body.
Got it. So if we were to look at this in a space, now let's say like the blue marker here, this was the physical plane. And this was level 1 that had to be transcended before you could get to soul purpose. Level 2 then is to transcend the mind. So the mind has power over the physical body. The mind dictates to the body. The body doesn't dictate to the mind, right? So all action within this tool has no power whatsoever except for what the mind tells it. The synapses in the brain says, move this, do this, etc. The thoughts then inspire movement in the tool. Okay, now the mind itself, just like the body if put in control, tends to move a person away from soul purpose, tends to move somebody away from ultimately expressing the divine contract of their life. So then mindlessness, or getting to a place of what they call in Buddhism and Hinduism, which is no mind, right? No mind, or the phrase too many minds. In Christianity in the New Testament, we see this as a mind that's divided against itself, or that a man cannot serve 2 masters, right? So consider for a second then, this idea of your mind is something that must be transcended in order to access soul purpose. So we're like, okay, great. So I gotta get out of no mind. So there's a tool, there's a mechanism we use in the Power Hour to transcend mind. We work out to transcend body, mind's in charge of the body. Now we want to access the spirit domain of soul purpose. So what are the tools we're using here?
Meditation is a powerful tool for that.
Got it.
Prayer.
Talk to me about what your experience is with meditation.
My first experience or my experience now?
How about now?
Okay, now, by the way, this is my meditation this morning. I'm in my meditation room. I'm having a great meditation. In comes the dog. I left the door open just in case I could hear my kids because my wife was at the gym. And now I'm meditating. And what used to be the mind distracting me is now the dog licking me, now the dog jumping up on me. So that's kind of what the mind does a lot of times is there's thoughts that enter. And meditation is my way of just allowing those to be, let them go, and just get to a state where I'm not constantly thinking through things, but I'm creating space.
Awesome. So consider this too. Actually, one of the phases that they train in a bunch of different programs I've been through is that one of the ways you can tell if the energetic expansion of who you are and your soul and your spirit, that it's expanding and that your vibration is quickening, is that small children and dogs and animals will respond differently to you. So in your meditation, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if what you were putting out, you would increase, and we'll put this up on the chart here in a second.
And my kids have been in the meditation room 50% of my meditations over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Right, so in that space,
I have to keep one eye open though because there are rocks in there that from sacred places that I'm afraid might hit me.
They'd throw and hit you, right? Now, if Garrett actually was master of his domain, he would not be worried about the rocks, but not quite there yet, right? Okay.